Well, Governor, it's always good in politics to meet expectations. You not only won, but about the margin people said you needed to win by.
Well, that's exactly right, Bob. And last night, Mitt Romney did something historic. As a non-incumbent candidate, he's now won both Iowa and New Hampshire. And as you well know, that's not easy to do, and it gives him tremendous momentum and tailwind going forward.
Let me ask you a little bit about Ron Paul, who wound up second. He beat Governor Romney amongst independents. Is that going to be a problem? I mean, how can he turn that around?
Well, at least in the context of the Republican primary, Mitt Romney and Ron Paul appeal to different messages in part. They don't agree on everything, but that's why you have a coalition. In the end, the conservative coalition is going to have to come together. It consists of defense conservatives, economic conservatives, social conservatives, Tea Party types, libertarian types, and Mitt Romney's challenge as the nominee will be, and the opportunity will be to unite that coalition. And Ron Paul speaks very passionately to one part of that, but we're going to have to make sure we have everybody on board the Romney team.
Somebody said that Ron Paul may be your very best friend because as long as he stays there and continues to get a sizable percentage of the vote, it keeps the other candidates or the other voters from coalescing around one single conservative. Are you glad to have Ron Paul where he is?
Well, all the voices in the campaign and the debate are important, but keep in mind, Ron Paul may also be attracting some people coming into the process who are new or who otherwise wouldn't be in the process. So it's not necessarily a one-for-one correlation between everybody voting for Ron Paul that may go somewhere else. He may be attracting new people.
But if this race came down to Mitt Romney and Ron Paul, you'd be kind of happy about that, wouldn't you?
Well, I think Mitt Romney's going to be the nominee, and I hope that he is. I'm working hard to accomplish that, but we have to tip the cap to Ron Paul. Like I said, he doesn't agree with Mitt on everything, but he came in second in New Hampshire. He had a respectable showing in Iowa, and he shouldn't be dismissed like a lot of people just kind of brush him off and say, well, he's not a serious candidate. He's doing pretty well in these early states. But look, it's with 6 or 7 candidates in the race, it's going to have to distill down here in the final stages.
Well, he's doing very well among young people. Why do you think that is? Because he wants to legalize marijuana and is kind of relaxed about drug laws?
Well, I think there's a number of things going on in the Ron Paul support group, one of which is more of a libertarian philosophy generally, but clearly he has the appeal to some young people. He's got a more tolerant view of some social issues. He's anti-war, wants to bring home the military from the war. That's a very different view than, in many cases, than Mitt Romney's view, but certainly some young people find the Ron Paul message attractive.
Is it of concern to you all that this may go right down to the convention and then he will form a third party and run as a third party candidate?
I don't think he'll do that, Bob. Ron Paul has a strong message. He hasn't said that he's going to run as a third party. He hasn't ruled it out, but I really don't believe he's going to run as a third party candidate. I believe in the end he's going to be part of a conservative and Republican coalition to win the presidency.
That would certainly be your hope.
That is our hope, for sure. Yes.
Now, I have to ask you, Governor, as you look at this, the way it's shaken down, are you sorry now you got out?
Well, I had my fair shot at it, Bob, and so I couldn't get it done, and I'm glad to support, honored to support, excited to support Mitt Romney. But you can't look back in hindsight and say I should have done that or that. I had a fair shot at it. We couldn't get it over the finish line.
I've also got to ask you about Newt Gingrich. He goes into South Carolina. He didn't do all that well here, but now we learn that this supporter of his is given $5 million to this super PAC that he has. He's going to turn that into instant television commercials. How do you handle that in South Carolina?
Well, Mitt Romney's campaign is not without its own strengths as well, obviously, in terms of resources. A candidate has got the momentum and the tailwind, but keep in mind, South Carolina and people across this country, in the end, don't just fall for glossy TV ads. They want to kick the tires of the candidate. In these early states, most people who want to can meet the candidate, eyeball him or her directly, take the measure of the person. And when they do that, what they're concluding is Mitt Romney is the most knowledgeable, the most capable, and the most electable candidate in the field, and he's talking about growing the pie, not fighting about shrinking shares of the pie like Barack Obama. They like that contrast with the president, and frankly, I think he's amongst this field, Mitt Romney is really the varsity playing the junior varsity.
But you'll have to concede that these negative ads do have an impact. I mean, certainly when the Mitt Romney anti-nude ads ran out in Iowa, it took him right out of the race.
Well,
almost.
they can have an impact, but as the old saying goes, it ain't beanbag, and so the third-party groups, the candidates are going to be leveling it back and forth. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a healthy part of the process, as long as it's accurate and fair. I think where candidates get frustrated and where people get frustrated is when the ads are distorted, or inaccurate or misleading or untrue.
Do you, does it concern you that maybe some of the attacks that Newt Gingrich is making sort of play into the hands of the Democrats, that maybe he's doing Barack Obama's work for him here?
Well, it's disappointing to see Newt Gingrich and some other Republicans criticizing economic freedom and private enterprise and somehow saying, you know, that that's out of bounds in the Republican Party. That's Barack Obama's argument, and it's disappointing to say the least that Newt Gingrich and Republicans are making Barack Obama's class warfare argument.
All right. Well, Governor, we thank you. And will you be out on the campaign trail? You're going to stay with us?
I'm going to help Mitt as a volunteer and feel strongly about his campaign. But, you know, I've got a day job and I've got a family to take care of, too. So I got to go back in Minnesota and stoke the home fires, too.
Okay. Well, best of luck.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
Thank you.